So I'll just run through these things about the physical characteristics of North America, and then I'll wrap up with some of the cultural things, and then give you guys your exit ticket, and have you guys get off and running for the day. So, okay, so talking about the about North America, one of the things is it reaches up far north towards the poles. Uh, And so one of the things is we have what's called glaciation and weathering. Why is it and why is it important? Um, so some of the things is the ice caps on the at the top and at the bottom of the poles are starting to melt, which actually raises the water. But as those glaciers kind of come through, they cut through the land and make some amazing features, as you can kind of see in this picture. Let me get my little pointer. This picture right here. There's also some other weathering that goes on. As you can see right here, this probably looks familiar where I'm pointing at. This kind of looks like our southern Utah with the red rocks, and how those all have formed. Those were actually formed by glaciers as well. Let's see here. Sorry, something came up on my computer saying it wants to shut down. No, we cannot process that right now. Don't kick me off my lesson yet. All right, so just like in southern Utah, so most of those sculptures in southern Utah were made by glaciers. So you had a glacial lake that was here called Lake Bonneville, and as it kind of came down, those where it's pressed down on that sand and then it's eroded away, that's where the glaciers put the most pressure on it, and you can kind of see those formations. So kind of talking about the weathering and storing of erosion. Most places like in the Uintas in Utah, or higher areas where it has pine trees and stuff, as you can kind of see in this picture, it helps control erosion. When you see a side of a hill, it has the vegetation on it. When it doesn't have a vegetation on it, it causes a whole bunch of landslides. So that's why right after like fires, as they burn down, you want to make sure that mudslides don't happen, because then what will happen is it will rain, there's no vegetation to catch up the rain, and you'll have huge mudslides that happen. Not good. The North America climate is very rugged, as you can see right here, kind of taking a picture of somewhat of our Rocky Mountains. And this one is in the Sierra Nevadas. You'll notice that mountain ranges throughout the United States, you have the Rocky Mountains, which is a big range, which is a newer range, and then you have the Appalachians that are back east, which are more like rolling hills a little bit. And the more rolling hills they are and the stuff, the more erosion has caused over time. So the Appalachian Mountains are actually older than the Rocky Mountains, and the Rocky Mountains are newer because they're more jagged. Okay, let's go over, and we're going to talk about 2.04 now, which more we're talking about human culture of North America. Now, there's this analogy in North America where they've put that some people describe American society as a salad bowl, while others describe it as a melting pot. The salad bowl idea gives perspective that immigrants come into the country, because we're all from this area, came over mostly from Europe and other places, and it gives different tastes to the whole thing of it. And other people think that people come to the United States and it's a melting pot, and we've all conformed or believe in this Americanization. So let's put in the chat real quick if you're kind of thinking about that. Do you think that America, or North America, is a salad bowl? You can just put salad bowl or a melting pot. Now, a melting pot, if you kind of look down here, it's like you've kind of melted everything together. So I want you to put in the chat real quick what you think. Do you think it's a salad bowl or a melting pot? What are you guys' thoughts? Salad bowl or melting pot? Oh, wow. I didn't think you guys were putting anything, but now I can see my chat was all the way up, so I couldn't see what you did. Uh, so sorry, I might have to get back to some of these questions. I apologize. So, Susan said, "Was the whole world covered in glaciers?" No, but at certain times the pools were at different areas, and there were glaciers on there. Okay, and so Heather and Susan and some others have put that they believe it's more of a salad bowl. I'm gonna go and say that sometimes when people come from other countries, we believe that they have to conform to Americanized views, right? And so a lot of people think it's a melting pot that way. Okay. So good thoughts, guys. Thanks for putting things down. Okay. One of the big things about North America is it's a big place for people to come. And people want to come here because they have a high employment rate and you can make money in the United States and North America. As you can see right here on this graph of immigrants per decade, you can see in 1901 there was a whole bunch of people that came into the United States and flooded in there. And a whole bunch of people, and this time right here is so low. Also, there's a lot more freedoms. Good job, Heather. Correct. So in the 1940s, can anybody tell me why this dipped down and nobody was coming to the United States? It's kind of interesting, right? In the 1940s, what was going on there? Okay, there's World War II. Good. Anything you know what's happened just prior to that? Prior to World War II, we were in the Great Depression, right? So nobody wanted to come when there wasn't any money being made. Okay, and there's things what we call is push and pull factors. Okay, so as we're going to be talking more about Central America and South America, we're going to talk more about push factors. Basically things that would push you out of a country. Why don't you want to live in that country? Well, if there's war, if there's no food, if you can't make any money, you're going to leave, right? Why do people want to come to the United States and Canada? Well, they want to come there because they have you have that there's not war, there's stability, you have money that is to be made. Okay, so you can kind of see those push and pull factors, and that's why we have a lot of immigrants that still come into the United States. So one of the things that's happened is there's a bunch of diffusion of people, products, and ideas. So for example, they had the triangle trade, okay? And if you remember this from probably back in, I don't know if you've had world history before or not, but what they would do is they would get, from Africa, they would get slaves, and they would capture these slaves and they would take them to the United States, and from the United States they'd take tobacco, and then to tobacco they would take them to the Caribbean islands, and then in South America, some places down there, and they would get sugar cane as well, and they would make that trade route there. And because of that, the United States was introduced to different people. Okay, so people from Africa were coming to the United States at this time. Different ideas came in and products, and that happens. Not the slave trade, but other things like that of people coming in from different areas and changing the idea of there. So for an example, the United States, or Utah for example, we have a big diffusion of people from South America or Central America that are coming up. So can you guys think of maybe some type of food that has diffused into Utah culture? Put that in the chat. Some type of food that is diffused into Utah culture. Rice. Okay, so you could have rice from there. Good food. Tacos, enchiladas. Okay, I like it. Okay, so what we call, and it's not exactly what they eat down there, but Mexican food, right? So if we didn't have that diffusion of food coming in here, we would not have known your delicious food that you said there, Heather, of taco and enchiladas, okay? So we have all those ideas, but Susan, rice as well, like something, remember how we talked about sushi in some of the other classes? Sushi was diffused from Japan, and so we kind of have those different things because of that. Something that I had last night was curry, right? A little more Indian or Thai food. Really good stuff there. Okay, let's do a poll question real quick, okay? And I just want you to put A for true, B for false, on your poll question. The poll question says, perhaps 90% of the indigenous population died in the years after the arrival of the Europeans and Africans to the Americas, mainly due to illness. Is that true or false? So I just want you to put A is true, B is false. Okay, so I'll give you some time to think about that. Thanks for answering, Victoria. Thanks, Susan. Thanks, Christina, for answering. Thanks, Ellie. Okay, and you guys are mostly right. The correct answer is A, true. Because of that diffusion, right, the Native Americans weren't used to the sicknesses that were brought across, and that's something else that's been diffused into there, is all of these, all of those sicknesses. Okay, next, we have what's called NAFTA that we're going to talk about. So talking about, okay, so somebody said smallpox alone took a lot. Yeah, so smallpox is one of those things that the Native Americans had never seen before. Their bodies just couldn't handle it, right? And so they're very good. So another thing in diffusion, as things have kind of go forth, in the 1990s, the United States, Canada, and Mexico created what's called NAFTA, the North America Free Trade Agreement. Okay, so NAFTA was an agreement that we could go and we could sell things across the border and diffuse those things more easily, so we could trade. So, for example, things being made in Mexico could be sold in the United States without having a cost of what's called a tariff. Now, President Trump right now, he's actually starting to enforce some tariffs because some people think it's bad that, so for example, a manufacturer that was making something in the United States might go down to Mexico because it's cheaper labor, right? Or someplace in Canada, it's may go to Mexico because it's cheaper to do it. So some people think this is bad, some people think it's good, but it's been able to bring a lot of revenue into all of these countries. But they call that the North America Free Trade Agreement. So I got another poll question, okay? A is true, B is false on this one. Although NAFTA was begun by President Bush, it was a priority of President Clinton's, and its passage is considered one of his first successes. Is that true or false? True or false? So President Bush, they're talking about Bush Sr., okay, so not George W., but George H.W., so that he came right before Clinton. And the passage for Clinton was one of his first successes. Okay, so the majority of you guys are putting false. Okay. And the correct answer is actually true. Okay, so President Clinton, yep, hurry and change your answer. President Clinton was the first one who enacted NAFTA into the thing. All right, so let's just talk a little bit as we're talking about these different countries. And one of the things is money-wise, okay? So we always look at what's called the Human Development Index when we're looking at countries. And it's basically how good is their country, right? So we're going to compare United States to two other countries. So the United States, at the time this was done, the gross domestic income, so people, how many people made money during that time in the household, was about $46,000 people were bringing in. In Thailand, they only brought in about 4,000, and in Ethiopia, they only made $350 a year. Okay, so you can't even buy an Xbox for 350. So you can see how that is. So if we come and look over here, and we look at, like, for example, life expectancy in the United States, you're looking to live about 8 to 80 years old or above. Ethiopia is 70 years, or sorry, Thailand is 70 years, and Ethiopia is only 56 years. Why do you think that is? Any thoughts? Why do you live longer in the United States than you live in Ethiopia? Okay, some things are like healthcare. Okay, we have better healthcare. Money, education's really big, right? What to eat, what to not to eat. Tell your health care that. Okay, so because of the area, yeah, I mean, there is some area influence in there, so good. Less disease, yep, because we can fight disease. I like that. Medical technology, better access to things to keep us healthy, good. We also have a better literacy rate, which basically means more schooling. So you go about 12.4 years in the United States, only 6 years or 7 years in Thailand, and 8 years in that. So healthier crops, I like that too. So expected years in school, the more educated a community is, the longer they're going to live too, because they're going to make better choices throughout the thing, okay? And so they have also, the very last one is mortality rate under 8. So basically they have a lot of babies that pass away because they don't have good health care, women's health's bad, and so we're just lucky. What I'm saying is we're lucky to live where we are. Okay, this leads us to the very end, which is our exit ticket for today, okay? Our exit ticket for today is I want you to email me, okay? I want you to email me your favorite American food. Now think of American before, right? Is Mexican food American food? I'll let you make that choice, okay? So I guess it can kind of be a diffusion there. But email it to zhancock@utahvirtual.org. Okay? Okay, burgers? You like burgers? Okay, very good. But email it to me, okay? Email it to me, and then I can get it on there as extra credit, okay? All right, thank you for sticking with me during class. Appreciate it. If you look for the announcement board to see your Flip Friday class come through, and if you need to catch anything that you missed, please go back to the Google folder and do that. So, all right, guys, take care, and I'll stick